Beer 101. Hector, do it with me now. 101.
101.
Yeah! Welcome back to Beer 101. I'm Alexa.
And I'm Hector.
Today we are talking about yeast, a very, very important step to the brewing process. Hector, can you explain to me what yeast is?
Yeast is a single-celled microorganism that's actually alive, and what it does is just eats up the sugars, which is a wort, of course, and turns it into carbon dioxide and also alcohol. So, basically it's just chomping away.
Interesting. So I know there's like multiple types of yeast. I'm still learning, but there's ale and something else. Can you please,
Well, yeah, there's two categories in the brewing process, which is going to be ale yeast, and then there's going to be a lager yeast. Ale yeast is a top fermenting yeast that works at warmer temperatures, while lager yeast works at colder temperatures for a longer period than ale yeast. This is why if we do a lager, it takes a little more time in our tanks.
So I remember using this in like science class.
They use this to take a look at the yeast. And then, yes, you see a lot of movement there, right?
Can
you
I
see a lot of movement. Take a look.
I mean, yeast is my new favorite ingredient in the brewing process, so turn it into alcohol. And I want to know more. So I heard a little something about you. I heard you know Latin.
I know Latin. Baila conmigo. That kind of Latin. That's what the beer does. What the yeast was with the beer. Baila conmigo. They're dancing
what is that
together
again?
to
Can
make
you show
up.
me your dance move?
Baila conmigo.
Ooh, look at Hector! Latin, like within beer.
Oh, okay. Well, the yeast scientific term is in Latin. Saccharomyces cerevisiae is ale yeast, of course. And then there's lager yeast, which is going to be Saccharomyces farfugum.
Say that again.
Farfugum.
Thank you all for submitting your questions. I narrowed it down to 3 awesome questions for Hector, and I'm excited to ask this one. It is from Melvin from Arizona. He wants to know what are 4 major growing regions for brewing processing.
Melvin, great question. Europe, main supplier usually. Britain, Czech Republic, Germany, United States, of course. Thanks, Alexa. Appreciate it.
You know what? Honestly, all I'm hearing is road trip after road trip after road trip. Can we go? Please, please, please?
I'm ready. I'm ready, Alexa. Let's go.
Road trip. Hector, I have another question for you. If you get this right, I will pay for the gas on this road trip. Emma from Idaho wants to know, what is the biggest tank to brew beer in? Honestly, I'm intrigued.
Thanks, Emma, for that tough question. It's gonna be a 300-barrel system from Founders Brewery. They've been around for a while. Shout out to Founders. They're doing big things over there.
Shout out, and I guess I'm paying for the road trip for me and Hector. Hector, third and final question for this round.
Ready.
All right, what is the bright tank for beer used for it? This is from Mason in Florida.
Mason, that's a great question also. It's for conditioning. The longer it stays in there, the more smoother or crisp, depending on what the brewer wants the beer to be at the end of the process, will sit there and just condition. And it'll get softer for the palate, it'll get softer for the mind, and you'll have great beer at that finished product.
So now that I learned the 4 ingredients, the top 4 ingredients to brew a beer: water,
Hops,
grains,
yeast.
and now you guys can brew at home too. tuning in on our episode of Yeast Beer 101. Stay tuned for the next. As always, I'm Lex.
And I'm Hector.
Cicerone certified himself. Cheers to the next one. I'm excited to pick your brain. Hector, guess what? Drink happy.
Be happy.
Life is
Beautiful. Woo, ding, 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 ding. Yeah, so how's that brewing process going over at home?
The brewing process is going well. I've learned a few things right now. I had a bucket, and my main thing is I was really nervous at first because all of a sudden I had this bucket and it was bubbling, and I thought I was gonna have a big explosion, but instead it was taking the yeast and it was taking and eating the sugar into alcohol from what you've taught me.
Right.
So it was a false alarm, but it still worked out into alcohol. And I would have not known that if it wasn't for you being Cicerone certified and telling me how to brew. And if you want to stay tuned, you can watch Hector try my beer. Would you try that? If I brought it in, you would try it?
Yes, of course, I would try it.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Guys, Hector just left, and I want you guys to message us a bunch of questions to ask him on the next round. I want to stump him. Let's get him stumped.